It is the only vegetable in U.S. history to be handed a life sentence by federal law. It terrified Wall Street more than cocaine ever could. In America, the capital markets have zero chill. You can legally short oil. You can bet on entire nations collapsing. You can trade Bitcoin and make a fortune overnight in absolute chaos. You can even buy weather futures, wagering on whether a hurricane will wipe Florida off the map. But try to trade a single onion futures contract on the Chicago Exchange today. You don't even need to execute the trade. Just placing the order makes you a federal felon. Why? Why is a common kitchen ingredient on the same blacklist as weapons-grade plutonium? All this fear traces back to one ghost from 1955. Vincent Kosuga. "5'5", always in dirt-caked overalls, with a cigar permanently glued to his teeth. No Harvard degree. No golden resume from Goldman Sachs. Just an onion farmer from Pine Island, New York. Home to America's richest black soil. Locals joked you could stick a broom handle in the ground and it'd sprout leaves by morning. To his neighbors, a sweet old man played violin at church, handed out candy to the kids, but dig into his file and you find a glitch. In the 1940s, this farmer was a shark in New York's underground gambling dens. Poker, ponies, dice. He played it all, but he never bet on luck. He bet on one thing, the edge. Once he learned a racehorse was injured before anyone else. Bet on the opponent. Raked in a fortune. Another time he played the losing idiot at a poker table for 3 straight hours, waited for opponents to lower their guard, then went all in on the final hand and took everything. It taught him a brutal truth. Farming is for suckers. Real money isn't in growing the crop, it is in rigging the price. So, this harmless-looking farmer set his sights on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. To him, the Wall Street elites weren't wolves, they were marks. To understand Vincent's play, you need to understand onion futures. Don't panic. It is simple. A future is just a promise on paper. Say you're a farmer, terrified prices will crash. You sign a contract now, lock in a price, say $2 per bag for next March, guaranteed sale. And if you're a speculator, you buy that contract. If prices rise, you profit. If they fall, you eat the loss. This was originally a risk hedging tool for farmers, but Vincent didn't see insurance. He saw a casino, and he found a bug in the system, a fatal physical exploit. The onion itself. Look, gold can sit in a vault for 100 years. Wheat stays good forever if kept dry. But onions... No, onions are alive. The moment you pull them, the clock starts ticking. They sprout, they rot, they turn into sludge. What does this mean? Come delivery day, you have to sell. If you don't, you're holding a pile of garbage. Vincent saw through this fatal weakness, controlled the physical inventory, squeeze the delivery deadline, and you have the market by the throat. In the fall of 1955, he recruited a partner named Sam Siegel. The two men slipped into Chicago silently, carrying massive amounts of cash. The hunt had begun. By late 1955, Vincent and Sam operated like 2 industrial vacuums. They swept every warehouse in Chicago. Good, bad, sprouted. They bought it all. By early 1956, these two men had hoarded over 30 million pounds of onions. What does that mean? Vincent Kosuga owned 98% of every onion in Chicago. At this point, other traders panicked because the market had run dry. Supply hit zero, prices skyrocketed. onions surged from $1 per bag to $2.75, an all-time record high. Bulls were celebrating. Farmers thought their fortune had arrived, but what they didn't know was this was only Vincent's first trap, because at this moment, this man wasn't just holding onions, he was holding a loaded gun. In March 1956, Vincent summoned every major onion dealer to a room and made an extortion-level offer.
I now control more onions than anyone in America. Either you buy them back from me at inflated prices, or I dump all 30 million pounds into the market and we all go down together.
This was naked extortion. If growers bought back, Vincent cashed out at the peak and made a killing. Don't buy, then everyone dies together. The enraged dealers refused. They bet Vincent wouldn't dare crash the market because that would make his own inventory worthless. After all, who would be insane enough to burn down their own house for warmth? But they miscalculated one thing. Vincent had already bought himself fire insurance. The day after negotiations collapsed, Vincent bared his fangs. He executed the double kill. First, he went massively short in the futures market, betting prices would collapse. Second, he opened the floodgates. 30 million pounds of onions hit the market at once. Though he lost money on the physical inventory, his short positions in futures generated astronomical profits. The market collapsed instantly. Panic selling triggered a free fall, $2.75, $1.50. By late March 1956, a 50-pound bag of onions sold for just 10 cents. Notice this, the mesh bag holding the onions cost 20 cents. At that moment, onions became a liability. You literally had to pay people to take them. The Chicago River reeked of rot, but underneath the smell of onions was the smell of despair. Many people's life savings evaporated in that insane spring. And Vincent Kosuga, though he lost on physical inventory, his futures shorts netted him $8.5 million. This absurd collapse enraged the American public completely. Angry letters poured into Washington like a blizzard. Among the most furious was a congressman from Michigan, future President Gerald Ford. Ford erupted. At the congressional hearing, he waved a 10-cent bag of onions in the air, condemned the exchange, and delivered a legendary quote.
"This isn't commerce. This is naked gambling. A handful of profiteers holding the entire agricultural system hostage."
Everyone watched Vincent Kosuga, waiting to see when he'd be wearing prison stripes. But the most ironic thing happened. Vincent Kosuga never went to prison. Why? Because under the legal framework of 1956, what he did was technically legal. His lawyer asked just 3 questions in court. Is buying onions illegal? No. Is selling onions illegal? Also no. Then why does buying and then selling become a crime? It was a logical checkmate. Everyone knew this was sophistry, but under America's legal principle that anything not explicitly forbidden is permitted, this argument was bulletproof. The law at the time didn't explicitly prohibit hoarding physical inventory to support short futures positions. It is like finding a glitch in a video game. You can hate him for breaking the server, but you can't say he cheated. The final punishment, a 10-month trading suspension. That is right, less than a year banned from trading. And those millions he raked in, not a single dollar was confiscated. He strutted back to New York, continued farming, even became a local celebrity. Though they couldn't punish this man, Congress decided to kill the game itself. On August 28, 1958, President Eisenhower signed the infamous Onion Futures Act. The bill's content was brutally simple: a total ban on onion futures trading in America. From that moment on, onions became the only pariah in America's financial markets. Even today, you can legally trade futures on crude oil, weather, even toxic chemicals, but you still cannot trade onions. This is the legacy Vincent Kosuga left the world. Single-handedly, he 86'd onions from Wall Street forever. This isn't just a story about speculation. It is a microcosm of the battle between regulation and human nature. When greed finds gaps in the rules, even the most mundane vegetable can become a financial nuke. Next time you pick up an onion at the supermarket, take a closer look at it. What you're holding isn't just a cooking ingredient. It represents the only outlaw that ever beat Wall Street and broke the free market itself.